today. My only complaint with this car has been how floppy it is, and that's mainly because it's an old convertible and it's got 240,000 miles on it. And today, we're going to be addressing that. We've got some Flyin Miata frame rails for my 30-year-old car, and we're going to bolt them up to the bottom and hope that it resolves some of this floppy, wobbly chassis problem. We're going down a brick road right now, which is really smooth for what it is. They did a good job with it, but it's still a brick road, and it's still pretty wobbly. The steering wheel kind of judders back and forth in my hand. Anytime one of the rear wheels goes over a bump, that the other one does it, the whole car kind of shimmies back and forth, and it twists like this. So we're going to spend the day in the shop, take the seats out, take the carpet out, put those frame rails up to the bottom, and take it for another test drive and see how it goes. And hopefully we'll come out the other side with a car that is much more planted and tolerable to drive with. To answer your question, no, the rails are not going in the car, they're going under the car. And the only reason I'm taking the interior out is so that I can get to the floor pan right here, because I have to be able to drop bolts down the top, put nuts on the underside, and that's just how you have to do it. Seats have to come out, carpet has to come up, and then we're gonna put the rails on from underneath and drill all the holes up, come back up on top, drop bolts in, go back underneath, thread the nuts on, and then we can reinstall everything. Look at my sad bumper. I painted this a couple of years ago, and I was really proud of it when I did it, but it did not last long. The first time I drove it through the rain, all the clear coat just started peeling off, and I'm guessing it's because it's not thick enough. I mean, it feels like, you know, thin paper or wax. So I don't know. It looked good at the time, but I drove it through rain. It didn't last. So, lesson learned. So here we are at the scene of the crime. This is where we're going to be putting the frame rails on the Miata. You can see these frame rails have seen better days. They're kind of beat up, and there's obvious scraping and impact points that have happened over its 30 years of life. There's an impact. There's an impact. This may have been somebody jacking it up from the chassis rail. They're not quite square and straight anymore. You can see if I go down the side, there's some points where it sticks out, needs to be hammered back in. And I'm going to do a little bit of that before I put the new chassis rails on, because they won't fit over those. There's a really big one. That one may have been high centered on the ground, and there's a big bump on the side of the chassis rail. So I'm going to do a little bit of hammering to try to knock these as straight as I can before I slip the new frame rails over them, because otherwise they just won't fit. And then should be a pretty easy installation after that. This feels like I'm hammering on cardboard. Really, this stuff must be so thin. You can hear it. It's just nothing. I mean, look at this little bulge right here, right? How it kind of bumps out that way. Mm-hmm. It's gone.
See it again. Huh.
it.